Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone, depending on where in the world that you're tuning in. And we appreciate you being here. I'm Rick Levine from the NAUMD, the Network Association of Uniform Manufacturers and Distributors. We are global now, so we are a network association. North American focused, but we're global, everyone. And I think we're operating in about 9 countries. We have membership now. So today we're talking about how the digital transformation of the uniform retail market, which we're all a part of, affects your bottom line. So, you know, we've all seen the reports, and McKinsey being a famous one, of how e-commerce is expected to continue to grow. We all, you know, use large providers ourselves as consumers. We all respond to RFPs where e-commerce is, you know, required, it's a very interesting topic. I'm going to take 1 second here just to give a quick commercial for the NAUMD, the Network Association of Uniform Manufacturers and Distributors. We're about the uniform news and awards business. If you don't get our free Tuesday emails, you should opt in at naumd.com. And then we have members only emails and publications if you join. We produce data reports that are available to members. And of course, you have access then to everyone else in the network, which is the biggest ingredient. We have an in-person trade show coming up in May in Reston, Virginia, which is a suburb of Washington, D.C. That's May 22nd to the 24th. You can see information about that at naumd.com/convention, naumd.com/convention, or just go to the website and click on convention, you know, the traditional way. So with that in mind, or with that out of the way, I should say, how do I get back to my little controls here? That's funny. Come on. There, see, they were hiding. Stop share. All right, with that in mind, thank you for waiting patiently. Megan Butcher is with me, and she is the president, co-founder of RepSpark, which is a B2B wholesale e-com platform. She as they say, kind of grew up in the apparel industry. So her understanding of like the sales process and is enormous. She understands the challenges, and RepSpark is, you know, her company that looks to address that in an intelligent way and helps really, and I'm probably getting this wrong, Megan, but kind of collaborate, how sellers can more collaborate with buyers instead of it being this kind of, you know, arm's length approach. So I should shut up and just let you take over. So Megan, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks so much, Rick, and thank you for having us be here to present to this great group today. Before we get started, I will say if you do have any questions, please go ahead and put those questions into the panel. Rick will be monitoring those. Don't throw me for a loop, Rick, but Rick will be monitoring those, and we'll be going through any questions that you may have at the end. So please feel free to do that. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I'm also going to turn off my video while I'm here presenting. I'm currently in Las Vegas at an in-person show, which is probably crazy to hear, but it's been great. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off my my camera while I give the presentation, and then I will pop back on once we're done to answer any questions that you have. So today we're going to be talking about how digital transformation of the uniform retail market affects your bottom line. So as Rick kind of alluded to as we started the presentation, there's been a lot of movement and a lot of new things happening and new trends that we're seeing in the uniform market and beyond. As the digital transformation takes place, we have to see that uniform market, workwear, healthcare, everyone really should be taking a closer look at the benefits of transitioning to a fully integrated B2B e-commerce platform. Now, some of you may be on e-commerce platforms that are home built. Some of you may be on e-commerce platforms that you've used for 10, 15, 20 years. And some may be new to this whole industry. What is e-commerce? How does it help? So we're going to go through a lot of different things today during the presentation. We're going to first talk through the industry trends. Next, we're going to talk through the move to digital and what that means. Next, we're going to go through efficiency through automation, empowering your sales reps and your retailers. And sales reps could be your whole sales team. So that could include dealers, distributors, etc. We're also going to talk through sustainability, and then we'll end with a summary and, of course, leave some time for some questions. So let's first start with some industry trends. First of all, it's so interesting to see that 94% of decision makers view omnichannel, which is customers buying face-to-face, buying remotely, and buying online, as more effective in the sales process. So this is a huge change over the last 2 years. And obviously, what has driven that? While a lot of these platforms have been in place, COVID-19 has really accelerated the shift to digital. So it's really interesting to note when COVID-19 emerged in early 2020, customer behaviors began really to shift. And we're not only talking about the customer behaviors of presenting online or sending digital catalogs, but it was also the buyer or a distributor, retailer. It was also their acceptance of the new trend of how this is how it was going to be. There was going to be an online component to every sale going forward. This having COVID-19 put the pressure on for the buyers and dealers to accept the fact that they may have to do some of this on their own. And they actually really liked doing some of this on their own, which we'll show in some other slides going forward. We've also seen in industry trends in some of our white papers that we've written and read. And again, we'll have all of our sources at the end of the presentation, but more consumers are favoring video conferencing over the traditional sales process. And sometimes this varies during what time in the sale it is, but there is a component of buyers who are favoring this, no matter if it's the first time meeting or one more in the future. So let's talk about this move to digital. Now that we've seen that it is here to stay, it's not going anywhere. Buyers are accepting it, brands are accepting it, manufacturers are accepting this. Let's talk about the move and what we should be looking for as we go forward. So it's really creating opportunities for industries to strengthen their sales process and increase their revenue. So while we think, gosh, is this going to help? Is this going to hurt? What's happening? It really is giving a great opportunity to modernize, to look at what you have and potentially modernize to something better, and to really take a firm look at this as buyers, again, are requesting more and more opportunities and more ways to shop digitally. So let's talk about first the traditional channel that everyone here on the call, I'm sure, is very familiar with. So, it used to be one-on-one. There was face-to-face in-person meetings, whether you were at trade shows, on-site appointments, regional shows, things like that. There was that one-on-one, face-to-face, in-person meetings. And again, I'm not saying those are bad. I'm here at the trade show, a sports licensing show, and it is so nice to be face-to-face with people, shaking hands, meeting face-to-face. And as you'll see in a future slide, that is always going to be a component. But before, that was kind of the only way to do it. Also printed catalogs. So the traditional channel had a printed catalog. Someone was handing out a catalog. The sales reps were handing the catalogs to their buyers. Distributors were handing out catalogs. So products were traditionally shown on printed paper. And then the processes were very manual, or still are very manual in some areas. Orders are taken down on spreadsheets. Sometimes order forms where there's a front page of the order form with a back page, etc. So it's a very manual process, but all of that is changing as we're talking about. So it was really interesting, and this is actually a McKinsey study, but it's really interesting that their study is really showing the rule of thirds. So they're seeing that 2/3 of buyers opt out for remote human interactions, or opt for, not opt out of, opt for remote human interactions or digital self-service. So if you look at some of these graphs, it's really interesting. The bottom black piece, or dark gray, is digital self-serve. So that's being able to look at tracking, to see the order status, to see what products are available, to have access to inventory. So really that digital self-service. Next is that remote human interaction. So that's being able to communicate as we're doing today on a Zoom meeting, being able to communicate remotely, whether that be walking through an order online or doing something like that. And then there's the aspect of obviously the traditional interactions. So that's, meeting face to face, shaking hands, looking at the product. But it's really interesting because no matter what part of the process, they're seeing that whether they're identifying and researching new suppliers, considering and evaluating new suppliers, actually going through that order process and then that reorder process, you can see the trend is really a third, a third, a third. So a lot of the buyers out there are really opting for some of these. I want to do it when I want to do it. I want to do it when I have the time to do it. I don't want to track down somebody anymore, and really having the opportunity to do that. Obviously, you can see that the reordering, so that's placing that second at once order or reorder, is really an area where these buyers are opting the most for some sort of way for them to digital self-service. Another industry stats, and we heard a lot over the last 2 years. That's great. Our buyer's going to be able to do this. Maybe they'll place their really small orders online. But it's really interesting to see that 77% of B2B decision makers are willing to spend up to 50 grand or more online or remotely in a single transaction. So we're not just talking about these very small at once, refill in orders after they've already seen a rep, after they've already gone through the process. They are feeling more and more comfortable to place these larger orders online. And some of them actually prefer to do so because they can actually click that button to submit that order. They can see that that order went through. They could see that the brand or the manufacturer now has that order. And they're really looking forward to being able to kind of self-serve and follow that process on their own. I was talking to a sales rep at the show that we're working at right now, and she just went on RepSpark as their B2B e-commerce platform. And she was so excited on the fact that she knew her order went in. She got confirmation right away that the manufacturer received her order. She got confirmation when that order was ready to be processed. And she said before, just trying to track that down and talk to customer service or customer support was taking so much of her time, really just to make sure that her order that she was doing got in and got out to a customer. So it's not just the B2B decision makers and buyers, it's also your sales team that have more visibility and more control over what they're doing. So let's now look at what this omnichannel standard is. So with the omnichannel, we're talking about that rule of thirds. So that is a third buy face-to-face, the third buying remotely, and the third buying online. So again, we're seeing that this is so effective because of the digitization opportunities that platforms are being able to provide now. So let's talk through some of these. What is the standard? What should you be looking at? And what should you be providing your buyers and your sales teams, your distributors, your retailers? What should you be giving them in today's world? So first is digital catalogs. These digital catalogs are not just an online PDF of a catalog anymore. It should actually be a shoppable, flexible, completely current catalog. This could be changed for customers. This could be changed to have pricing or no pricing. You can copy catalogs. The catalogs should be really dynamic. They should be flexible. They should be able to be printed to a PDF if you need to do so, but they also should be interactive. So as buyers and distributors are looking through products, they're able to actually shop those digital catalogs, favorite products, and place an order directly from the catalog. So again, it's not just moving from a paper catalog to now an online PDF. It's creating an experience for them that is truly interactive. Uploading videos into those digital catalogs, uploading conversations and talks about what that product is, the specifics of the designs of the products, the zippers, the buttons, the pockets, really being able to showcase that in the digital catalog. And that leads me right to your virtual showroom. Really being able to have that opportunity, if somebody doesn't feel comfortable now to come to a trade show or to meet in person, to be able to give them that same experience talking through the line, the brand, the product, again, those very specific product details, the reflective wear, the the piping on the material, and being able to show that really well in a virtual showroom. Also being able to support those remote video meetings. So being able to look at a digital catalog instead of, holding up a catalog and saying, do you like this? Being able to interact digitally through a line sheet or a catalog or a favorites list as these teams are working together to place their orders. 24/7 line presentations, again, giving that opportunity through the virtual showroom for someone to go back and look at something. Maybe they have questions. Maybe they saw that first presentation, but want to go back and see a little bit more detail about certain products. Also being able to give digital samples and swatches, being able to zoom in on products, again, to see those specific details, to see those zippers and buttons and reflective gear and all those different things that are really important to be able to see. Being able to put together curated assortments. So I've heard this over and over again. How do I take my 500-page catalog, my 30-page catalog, maybe you're somewhere in between, my 75-page catalog, and put together an assortment that actually makes sense for the buyer or the distributor group that I'm working with? I don't want to show them flipping through these 75 pages of products, again, 300 pages of products, 500 pages of products, when really all they're really interested in is products on page 2, 7, and 9. So being able to put together either a very custom catalog for those different buyer groups, or being able to put together a curated assortment right on the fly and easily do it, not go back to your internal team, not go back to the marketing team or the design team to have them build out something in Photoshop or put that together for you. It's, again, completely interactive, completely flexible. And then also being able to support those virtual buyer sales rep meetings. So all of the above are ways that you can work towards putting together those virtual meetings. And I hate to say it, but this is the standard now. I mean, really, you need to be able to do all this, and your buyers are wanting this. These dealers, these retailers, they are wanting to be able to have this type of access if they want it. Now, they may want to meet, they may want to get together in person, they may want to, do it the old way, but then sometimes they may want to be able to self-service, as we saw with that rule of thirds. And I keep going back to that. It's not taking away the face-to-face, it's really being able to support the remote and online buying. So if you see, again, the square on the right side, customers really are employing an even mix of traditional sales, remote sales, and that opportunity to self-service when they want to at each stage of the buying process. So now that we understand what that move to digital looks like, we understand that rule of thirds, we've seen some industry stats, and we've looked at what the omnichannel standard is today. Let's talk about why this matters to your bottom line. So B2B suppliers really need a multi-channel approach to service their customers. They want real-time customer service. So again, being able to reach somebody whenever they want to, but not somebody, but being able to kind of customer service themselves, being able to go online, look at their package. Is it tracked? Okay, I switched out the, this color or this size. Did that actually happen? What's my order status? Is it still on open? Is it picked? Is it shipped? Is it allocated? Can I see my canceled lines, etc.? So being able to really extend your customer service reach to be able to help these B2B buyers and decision makers when they want to self-service themselves. Giving that transparency online about product availability and pricing as prices change or customers have customer specific pricing. They're now able to see all of that online and be able to interact. Also discounts, promotions, things like that, being able to see that directly during the order process and checkout process is so important now. And then being able to provide a consistent purchasing experience across these multiple channels. So making sure that, your marketing, your merchandising team, they're all involved. So as the buyer or dealer or retailer is looking to purchase from you, they're experiencing a similar experience through that face-to-face, through being able to have that remote service, and through being able to have their digital access to all of this information. So it affects your bottom line by a couple different things. Time savings. So eliminating the manual process reduces human error and automates scalable, repeatable processes. Obviously, think about the time it takes when you get a order that's on the back of a napkin, in an Excel sheet, on an order form. There's multiple people touching that order. Somebody's taking the order, someone's sending the order, someone's receiving the order, someone's inputting the order. Sales teams, again, are waiting for the confirmation. They're then passing their confirmation to the buyers. The buyer then has a question. The sales team's then communicating with customer service or customer support. Where's this order? Did you go ahead and make that change that I requested? And this, of course, gets even more amplified as orders get more complicated. So customer specific pricing or logos, adding embellishments, adding the name drops. Again, as these orders get even more complicated, all of the product or all of the touch points become more and more amplified. Of course, sales teams checking to see when a package will arrive. They should be able to log on and check that, as should the buyers. And then knowing when a product is out of inventory. Obviously, everybody has experienced inventory shortages, inventory being delayed at being shipped this year. That's been just, an interesting thing across the board, whether you're in uniforms, whether you're in workwear, whether you're in fashion, it didn't really matter. Everybody's inventory was affected. And being able to have your sales team as well as your buyers have access to inventory changes, inventory swaps, etc., is really such a time savings for them. Obviously, it'll increase to higher profits. The more efficiently you can move product from production through distribution, the higher your profit margin will be. So less touches, less time, higher profits. And then just having those data insights. So again, before, as you talk to different buyers or distributors and they were looking at your product, they walked away with potentially a catalog that was circled. What are those data insights that you're missing? Where now when you're digitizing the process, you can really start to capture those. What pages are being looked at? What products are being looked at? What products are being marked at? Tell me when it's back in stock. Being able to have access to that information as you're a buyer or a producer to know that this is our best seller, 45, 50, 100 buyers are waiting for this to be back in stock. Gosh, we better reorder that. Only digitization will really be able to support having those analytics and that data available real time. Again, according to McKinsey, 28% of time is spent on repetitive tasks. So we just went through some of those. But just so you can kind of quantify it, this translates to 2.5 hours or 200 emails per day, as stated by the research cited by Forbes. So just think if you can just take that down a little bit, remove some of those processes, remove some of those repetitive processes, what that might be able to do within your company. And also, it's so important to look at how this can empower your sales team. So what can a B2B commerce platform do? It facilitates collaboration, and faster collaboration means stronger purchasing power. So being able to look remotely at an order, being able to look together at an assortment that the rep already put together for that dealer or distributor, to look through that assortment and be able to talk about it remotely while looking at the same program. And also the sales team can advise on trending products and just-in-time ordering. Hey, I know you were looking at this. This came back in stock. Or having that sales team also be more proactive. And that's such a part of collaboration as well. Having the sales group being able to communicate with their buyers if there is a delay in inventory or if a product line is changing, they really need to be able to collaborate to communicate. Obviously, there's the faster reorders. So with the full visibility into order history, dealers and the sales teams have full transparency for product information, availability, and prices. Creating an order from a past order and just changing quantities and start dates, being able to copy old orders, being able to look at what was trending and add those to those old orders, just being able to navigate the whole buying process to be faster. And next, there's that forecasting and inventory control. So this can really help the dealers and buyers avoid over purchasing and also provide insight into how a product may sell. So if they're looking at what's forecasted and what inventory is coming in, it helps them to better make their buys as well. And if they can better make their buys and be more profitable, what brand or what manufacturer do you think they're going to buy from the next time? So let's look at some faster collaboration. Besides just the order entry, there's also, you should have a platform that has the ability to customize and personalize, to be able to add products, logos, name drops. Some of our brands actually add the customization to hem, to buy in bulk, to look at budgets, to buy down for budgets, etc. So really being able to have that faster collaboration to customize and personalize product. Faster reorders, being able to look at status, order access on demand, have the ability to make uniform and employee portals and microsites. And again, this is doing it all from a single platform. So why that's so important is as inventory is shared across these different distribution channels, you need to have one platform that's going to be able to support all of those distribution channels, again, so that buying process is always the same. Your sales team, your buyers, and then those who are ordering from the uniform and employee portals are having that same experience and same visibility with inventory potentially running across all of it, being able to look at those types of things. And then forecasting, having accurate inventory, whether that's at once orders or for future orders, knowing when something's back in stock, having the notification of in 2 months I'd be able to buy that and the bulk that I need to buy that, and looking at bulk orders as well as contract orders. So talking through now sustainability. The other great thing about digitization is being able to look towards sustainability. I read a lot in the uniform market, and it's, there's such a big push towards sustainability within the actual apparel, what it's made from, what types of product is being made, product is being used, the process that the product is being made. There's such a push towards sustainability. And this is such an easy way to be more sustainable. Going digital replaces the cost of paper catalogs, and we kind of are sitting here like, duh. But guess what? People are still using paper catalogs, and it's such an easy way to show your sustainability efforts. And it also reduces that single-use waste. Benefit number 2, it provides that personal immersive experience while still going digital, while not creating and sending a PDF or printout of what you think would be good for them. It's really digitizing that process. And then the benefit number 3, going digital really keeps inventory and transaction in sync. It provides the ability to transact without the additional paperwork, without printouts, and it actually really helps to monitor that inventory and not overbuy on product that's not going to get sold. And that product usually ends up in some waste or some discount area. So it's really also being able to have access to that inventory and what the buyers are ordering. So just, we like to show this slide. It's really just the cost of 3,000 printed catalogs. So if you think about going to the trade show that Rick talked about in May and printing out catalogs or printing out handouts and giveaways, this is a really interesting slide and a really great way to look at digitization and potentially sell that within your company. The cost of 3,000 printed catalogs is 30 trees. So for a 100-page print catalog, times 3,000 catalogs, that's 30 trees. That's 3.67 BTUs of energy. So that's equal to 44 refrigerators. It's 28.4 pounds of CO2. So that's about 3 cars for a year. 34.8 gallons of water. So that's 35 loads of laundry. Now, I have 3 kids. I go through 35 loads of laundry a lot, but to think about how I could be saving that with not printing my catalogs. And then 1.8 pounds of solid waste. So just eliminating that catalog production each year, not only talking about all of the money that's saved, but it's actually working towards all of our sustainability initiatives as we work to save the planet. So another quote from McKinsey, 63% of consumers consider brand sustainability efforts before making a purchasing decision. And I'm sure we've all seen this. What are your sustainability efforts? We've heard in your product, in your shipping, in your bagging, in your tagging, in your, areas, all these areas of product, but this is a really good one. And people are starting to ask about it. Are you still printing paper catalogs? Do you hand out business cards? All these different ways to look at sustainability initiatives and how you can start chipping away and making sure that your company is one of the best ones here. So in summary, before I put my face back on and answer some questions, digital is here to stay. I think we all know it. It's not going away. It was here before, but COVID has actually moved this to the forefront. And it actually has made brands and manufacturers, it's not a nice to have, it's a need to have. And it actually is pushing the modernization as well. Walking around this show that I'm at right now, it's interesting to see how brands that have maybe had a home built system for, 10, 20, 30 years are looking now at ways to modernize, to be able to meet these buyer needs, these retailer needs. It's different. It's not just an order entry platform. They want this digitization with videos and catalogs and, the new generation that's coming in, they want to be able to access these platforms on their own. They want it to look nice. They want it to show off your product, videos, like I said, 360-degree images. That's what they really want is their ordering these days. Omnichannel selling will allow manufacturer to focus on deepening relationships and maximizing brand value. So I want to be clear, we're not talking here about, eliminating FaceTime or eliminating that time it takes to build these relationships, but it's giving these buyers and retailers the opportunity to self-service when they want to. And that will really deepen that relationship. That eliminates that frustration when that buyer or retailer is trying to track their package or look at an order or just place a reorder while the team's not online. It's really deepening that relationship by giving more capabilities to those buyers. And the last point is that data transparency will benefit both the retailers and the rep teams, rep force, distributor force, while transitioning to a sustainable approach to wholesale. So again, all of these buzzwords of being sustainable, data transparency, omni-channel, deepening these relationships, it's here to stay, and it really is going to affect your bottom line in positive ways. But you have to be very careful about the platforms that you're looking at and be very aware of all the benefits that are required now. Not even benefits, but all of the standards that are required for an successful omni-channel venture. And with that, I believe that is the end of my platform. This will be emailed out to everybody as a follow-up, and it will have all of the sources that we used as well. So I see Rick popped on. Hold on, let me stop share and I will start my video here.
Hey, that was very interesting. So, we've all been hearing for years about, e-commerce websites, e-commerce websites, e-commerce websites, and I'm sure most of the listeners have been, that's been drilled in, and you're really not a real company nowadays unless you also have a website that sells online, of course, right? What I'm really fascinated with about what you're talking about and what you're up to there, Megan, is this concept of the sales rep that's calling on someone, and they used to get on a plane and go there in person, right? And now you're talking about all these tools that they can recreate that experience of pulling something out of their bag, opening it, and people are seeing it, and they're discussing it in person, looking at each other, nodding along like we're doing now, right? To me, that's really fascinating. And you talked about the rule of thirds. And by the way, I see some questions, but if other people have questions, pop them in there and we will call them out. You talked about the rule of thirds, and there was also this report that came out recently about a third of our workers are now working remotely. A third are, like it's starting to divide up into thirds there as well, and that's not going away. That we probably will. Do we see that as somehow as corollary that, there's a third that opt for digital services? Is it the same third that's working remotely?
I don't know. That's a really good point. And I hope to, dig into that more, but we're seeing that too, where there's a third that they want to be remote. They want to work remotely. There's a third that are kind of a hybrid, where there's moments and times where they need to be in the office. And maybe there's moments and times when, the sales team does want to be in front of that buyer or retailer. But then there's also moments in time where it makes perfect sense to not be, and still being able to support the entire selling process remotely is going to be really important. And then you're going to have, like you said, that third that wants to go into the office every day. They're going to want to meet. But even though that group does things remotely, they're still, even though they want to be in person, they still need access to the data. They still need ways to do work remote with the group that wants to work remote, even if they don't.
So actually what you just said segues to this question that someone's asking. So you're talking about this access to data, and what you're talking about though is then the sales rep is closer to that data and can then communicate with the customer. But so they're saying, is this also, is RepSpark a CRM?
No, RepSpark's not a CRM. It's the sales rep having the data of customer purchases. So what they're buying, what they're looking at, what they want to be notified of when it's back in stock. It's really about the purchasing part of that customer.
Gotcha.
There's some pieces of CRM. We do have a way to generate email blasts and see who's clicking those blasts, and from those blasts, who's actually purchasing product. But it's not a CRM. It's a wholesale B2B e-commerce platform that is facilitating the transactions. So think about it as the transactions between the buyer, the rep, and the manufacturer.
So for bigger sophisticated users, would you integrate with their CRM in some way? Like it would feed the data back and forth?
You can do that. Yep. You could integrate with the CRM with some of the bigger players that need to have all of that information also in their CRM. Typically, we integrate more with like the ERP systems. And that way we can pull all the customer information, customer master terms, if they have value added services, all of that. So, but sometimes that could come from the CRM.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, here's one. Okay, so you talked in that one section, I'm translating. If you talked in that one section about how, and I love this, you have a 500-page catalog, but you need to pull out the 30 products to demo to a customer. Well,
Right.
There's a lot of retailers out there, though, that, I sell from 100 different catalogs that each have 100 different products, right? You saying, do we have to load everything in there in order for the rep to be able to prep that custom presentation then for the customer, or how does that work?
Well, so typically what we would do would be pulling the product from your data source. So it's typically an ERP system, or if it's a very small brand, and a site like Shopify or QuickBooks or something like that, but all the way up to your Oracle, SAPs, Experian, all of those. And then we would sync all the data in from those data sources, and that's product information, pricing, inventory. So it's not necessarily a load of the catalog, but then they can create the catalog assortments right on RepSpark. So it's not like you create it outside and then load the catalog in. RepSpark has a catalog assortment line sheet generator. So the rep, as they're prepping for the meeting, can say, okay, I'm going to see this customer. I'm looking at this dashboard. This is what they bought last year. This is what they bought last month. Perfect. I'm going to put my curated assortment. So again, instead of coming with this 100-page catalog, I'm going to pull out my 40 top products, 30 top products, 10 top products for this specific buyer, and send them over a quick line sheet that's branded for my manufacturer. Does that make sense?
It does. And some of them have, so let's pick on a supplier like a Sanmar, who has lots of different brands, and they distribute all of these products, right? And so, but I want, 15 products from Sanmar, and then I also need my public safety products in there, right? I've got to pull products from, 3 different public safety brands that are not part of the Sanmar world. So you're saying as long as those products are within my world already, so let's say I have that, a Shopify site, or I have, like you're saying, an ERP site that does have all those products, but the ERP might not have pictures, right? Man, it's super complicated.
It sounds complicated, but we do this for a living, so it's not that complicated.
Right.
So we would, again, there's different integration types, but we pull in data like product information, customer information, inventory, pricing, promotions.
Wow.
That's done from the ERP. If the ERP has images, great. If not, we can connect into a data asset manager, or an image asset management tool, or we have a old school FTP. They can drag and drop the images into the FTP. We can pull from an Amazon area if they have, if the manufacturer kind of keeps their images somewhere. So it's really where they're putting their images, and we connect in. And then on the site, you have the product information, the customer information, the images, and then you can start to build those flippable, customized digital catalogs with all of the correct information instead of building it outside. Because we're getting all that from the data source, and we're syncing. I mean, a lot of these brands, we're syncing product information every 30 minutes. We're syncing inventory real time every 5 minutes, every 10 minutes. So it's always going to be accurate.
Yeah, I like that. I don't see any other outstanding questions. If someone's willing to spend $50,000, online, like that study you were talking about, this is my question. Yep. I'm curious what that if the data is the remote purchaser versus the e-com purchaser, right? And because I see part of the magic of what you're describing back to us is you can start to create in a virtual way the rep's presentation and relationship so that they're not going in person, not that like you were saying, that's still needed. We're human species. We need contact, right? I'm going nuts, being shut in for 2 years. But we need, the idea is, I wonder how much is of the 50K, is a remote purchase. So I'm just saying yes to a person or clicking submit. Is there any breakdown of that?
I don't have that breakdown, but it would be interesting to see. And we are seeing a lot of it is that reorder where they've maybe met that face-to-face at one point in time. And then from there, they feel very comfortable to either have a meeting like this and have the rep put that order in, have a meeting like this, them choose their own products, run it by the rep. But again, the nice thing is everybody has access to that order as it's going through. So I don't have a breakdown for that. It will be interesting.
Yeah, and I didn't expect you to. I was just teasing.
I told you not to throw me, Rick.
No. I meant that I just wanted to hear what your thoughts surrounding the rep getting the yes versus it reminds me of years ago, when someone said, no one's going to buy that much from me over a fax machine. I'm going to need to get them on the phone or I'm going to need to go visit them. And it's the same cycle that we're having now of, well, how comfortable, yes, they'll go on and they'll buy 2 shirts and a pair of pants, right? Because we all do that in our personal lives, but will they order, 1,000 dozen of something, right from there. And so someone's asking about that video component that you were talking about. So is it almost like you have like Zoom kind of, built into your platform so that I have access to all these things as well as a video conference?
You actually, what's really interesting is you can do Zoom's not built in. So we do see a lot of people Zooming like this and then having the platform up showing the screen, kind of like when I was showing the presentation, right? Okay. So you're talking, but you're looking at the same platform together. But what I was talking about is people can upload videos, or a lot of our brands are uploading videos that are linked to each product. So as that purchaser is looking at the product, they're seeing the video, they're seeing the swatch, they're seeing close-ups to the product detail, whether it's zippers, buttons, reflective gear, whatever we're talking about. They're seeing a 360-degree image, but the virtual showroom, what that does, and it's really cool. Whoever's asking this question, we'll follow up later, but it would actually let the sales manager, whoever typically does kind of that presentation, do a recorded presentation going through all the aspects, here's my water bottle, this is the cap, and here's how it goes in, and this is this, and if you turn this up, literally giving a presentation like we would on Zoom, and then underneath it are all the products that person's talking about. So you can see them giving the presentation and start adding the products to the cart as they're talking to you, not even on Zoom. So that can be, done. A lot of times we see like the sales manager, somebody who's very, does the presentation. And a lot of times the reps will just say, hey, let's watch this together. And if you have questions, we can ask. So it's really taking that to the next level too.
I'm smiling. I just had this image of QVC now pop into my head of like, we've got 500 pairs of gloves left, right? It's like, after that, your motorcycle, team will not be able to ride.
Yeah, and I'm seeing part of this question too. Is there a video chat feature? We do have a couple brands taking this even to the next level and wanting to add their own chat. So, as the buyer's looking at the sales manager giving the presentation and walking through each of the products, being able to have that buyer opportunity to chat, hey, are you saying that this was like this from last year, et cetera? So that is something that we're looking at as well to make it even more remote. Now you're chatting with someone. So usually the brand has to put something in place where they, have a chat that's either going to a sales team member, an internal customer service rep. It's more the facility of facilitating that chat that could happen at any moment, right? Because you're going to now allow your buyer to look at this video at any time. But yes, we do have that capability for the brands to actually embed their own chats.
Very good.
Yeah.
I love that. Anyone else have more questions?
I am not seeing any either, Rick.
Yeah, well, it was thorough, and we really appreciate you getting on to walk us through kind of in a broad general sense of what's happening in the digital customer service world, and moving away from continuing to move further away from the printed catalog for all kinds of reasons. I personally appreciated that you reminded us of the sustainability pieces. That's very important to the NAUMD. It's a core part of our core values statement. We definitely are continuing to look for best practices for our members and the industry to do our part. Any other final thoughts for us, Megan? Or?
No, thank you so much for letting me be here today and present to you. Again, if you're interested in RepSpark, we are repspark.com. We will be reaching out as well with a copy of the video as well as our presentation. And we would love to meet up with all of you. We'll probably be attending the show in May as well. So hopefully we can meet a lot of you there too.
Great. Thanks so much for your time, and back to your fun Vegas activities.
Thanks, Rick. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.